it is one of the best stories I ever played.
And that is the big difference between single-player games and multiplayer games, because the Twitch and everything, online streaming games and stuff like that, all these kind of things encourage multiplayer games.
My best gaming moment, it would not be possible in a single player.
When you're investing your time in the single-player game, it's only your experience, but nothing to show, you know? Okay, welcome back to the Gamers Playground podcast. Today we are talking about single-player games versus multiplayer games. And as always, you are here with Stefan, aka Bazooka Bird, and myself, Mick, aka Van Mick. And we are diving into the topic in any minute. But before, as always, we're catching a little bit up what was going on in the past week. Everything in gaming, in our personal stories. Let's dive right into it. Stefan, hello, and tell us what happened.
Hello, Michael. How are you? So, today, what happened? Last week, me and my wife, we had our, the wedding day is the wrong word. What is if you're in a relationship?
Anniversary.
Yeah, correct. So yesterday was our anniversary day. So we went for the lunch to Chinese. That was really nice. It was delicious food. And in the evening we went to the beach and spent some time there. So had a nice day. And what else? I worked this night completely through the night, so I had only 2 hours of sleep, so I'm ready for this podcast. And in World of Warcraft, I got my third tier set. That was also nice. So I need one more, then I have the 4th set.
Okay, that sounds actually quite interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. How was your weekend?
My weekend was actually really good. It was quite social because I was on the Tokyo Game Show and I was on a digital nomad meetup because we are, as we said in the first podcast as well, we're traveling around the world, and most of the time when we are in different places and countries, we are visiting such digital nomad meetups to socialize a little bit and to meet other people. So that was quite fun actually. And yeah, in game I got my, what was it, with my monk, I got the tier pants, I think, and I crafted my tier shoulder, so I have now 4 set.
Nice.
But it's not that powerful with the tank monk, and I use mostly tank monk for the devs. I also leveled my worry to 80. I think that was past week actually, and I did 4 level 7 delves with him. He was, I think, 560 or something like that, but it worked actually with Fury.
As a Fury, alright.
Fury. I didn't try actually with the tank, but Fury was actually quite strong. I was surprised, but I only was running the mushroom delve, you know, where you can scam a little bit. So
yeah, you can cheat a little bit.
You can cheese it, so it was actually a little bit easier. But I got with him. I had 2 treasures with him in the big vault, and I got 1 weapon, hero weapon.
Nice.
But it was a one-hand hero weapon.
Nice. Oh, okay.
That was the problem because I looked it up, and afterwards I saw a lot of people, when they are Fury, they go into the vault with arms, actually.
Yeah.
Because then you get the two-hander. That's
the two-handed.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, in the end you can use it for tanking. So
I didn't take it because I took the tier then, because I got
okay.
one-hand weapon and the tier. I wanted 2 two-handers, so
yeah, all right, okay.
Because the damage loss is actually quite big when you take the one-handers, even if you have the talents for it or stuff like that. But it's too much for it. And tank, no need for that. It's also working with the Fury, so yeah, that was quite interesting. And I played Wuthering Waves again. I don't know if you know that game. It's uh,
Mm.
a competitor of Genshin Impact actually,
Okay.
but more in a adult anime style, I would say, not in the kind
Mm-hmm.
of childish style like Genshin Impact.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was quite fun. I had a lot of pulls because when you're away, you're getting the free pulls via post and stuff like that from the game as
Mhm.
free stuff. And I could pull actually because the best support in the game was actually on a banner, so I could pull for him, and I pulled him after 63 tries. So that was quite
Nice.
impressive. It was cool, and yeah, had a little bit fun there, and yeah, that's about it.
Nice. Sounds good.
Yeah, then I would say let's start into the topic, right? The topic, as
Yes.
we said, single player games versus multiplayer games. Um, my first question is, why are multiplayer games more toxic than single player games?
Well, it's pretty easy because it is a multiplayer, so you play with other players as well together. So, for example, Toxic game League of Legends. I have actually a funny story about that. So, I think it was 1 month ago. I went into League of Legends again, and I saw that someone is playing from my friend list. And I was thinking like, yeah, let's join and we can play together. And then I joined the group, and it was already 4 people, so I was the last one. And the first message I got was like, "Hey you, beep, what do you want here? You have a small dick," and all these kind of things. And I was
Nice.
like thinking, what the hell? And then he's asking me like, where are you from? And I said like, yeah, I'm from Germany and originally from Rottweil, like the city where we're from. And then he's saying, oh, I think I know you. And then it was like from my sister, like my brother-of-law, a friend of him.
I see.
And yeah, so like the Asia club
Mm,
from Buni.
I see.
So then he was like in a few minutes pretty quiet and didn't say anything later on. But I didn't know like why would you do it like that? And yeah, there are like people. I told to Daniela yesterday about that. Maybe they have small dicks. I don't know, but yeah, they're like toxic because if, for example, they're bad players and bad humans because if you have a bad time in a game, you always try to find reason why it's not your fault, it's the fault of the of your team members and all this kind of stuff. So I think that's the problem because and maybe the generation, I don't know. What do you think? What is the problem?
Yeah, I think it's also how the games are developed because it depends. I think there are also single player games which could be a little bit toxic. You don't need players to be,
FIFA.
yeah, for example, to be the game to
Yeah.
be toxic. For example, FIFA
True.
is a good example, yes,
Yeah.
because when you're, for example, playing the story mode or something like that, or a career in FIFA or in Madden or something like that, and the game fucks completely up in a very important game, and I don't know, a really big bug or something like that, and in FIFA that's very common because the players are behaving sometimes like dogs. I don't know, like
Yeah.
other species,
Yeah.
and then
Yes.
something dumb happens and maybe a goal or a non-goal happens, something like that. So that can be very frustrating as well. And you can find other example in single player games as well, not only in FIFA, for example. But I think in general it comes down to how the games are developed, because the multiplayer games are usually very competitive, and you have to achieve something, and you have to invest your time, and your time is actually the money in case like that. So
Yeah.
you invest time to compete with players in most of the time, and that is what creates the toxicity. But there are also examples where it's not that toxic in multiplayer games. For example, when it's very easy. When I look, for example, into classic World of Warcraft, right? It was everything in kind of progression was a joke, so everyone could do it actually because it was very easy. So it wasn't that much of toxicity and stuff like that, and a lot of people took you to the group, even you were a noob in these times and stuff like that. And at the moment, when you do Mythic Plus, means when you go into a 5-man dungeon with other people, you didn't get in there because they decline you in the beginning because I don't know, something, you're playing the wrong class or something like that. So
Yeah, radar IO is too bad.
yeah, that's in the fewest cases, but it's only this meta driven high achievement thing which is bringing in the toxicity. And game developer, I think they can actually do something against it, but it's developed in this way because probably that is the way which makes the most money, I think.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So, yeah,
So,
what is your next question?
okay, what would you say are the key difference in the player experience between single player and multiplayer games?
It depends. It depends on, are you is the focus of the multiplayer game really the play with other people, or is it the play you can play for yourself? But for example, when I look at World of Warcraft at the moment, you can easily play for yourself. You can optionally
Yeah,
play with other people, but it's nevertheless an MMO experience because you share the world with a lot of people. And
yeah,
you have single player games where which are feeling alive as well. But I think in general the single player game is a more chilled and a more relaxed approach to gaming. And yeah, you can also play it I don't know, offline in a plane, for example. So these are a lot of very nice benefits and differences between single and multiplayer. So I think when I speak for myself, when I want to do something very chill and enjoy mostly the story, because that's one big breaking point between the multi and single player, then I play the single player game. For example, Ghost of Tsushima or something like that I played recently was very good. And when I want to have a little bit more competitiveness, then I go into multiplayer games. What about you?
well, in first place, I think it depends on what kind of player type you are, or even as a personality. Because, for example, if you are playing multiplayer games, then you have most likely to do something and at some point to do it with some other people. So you have to come close to other people to interact with other people. So you need that kind of skill, or you need to be able to talk with other people. So I think that's one thing. For example, I know someone who doesn't like to be like forced to need to play with others to get achievements in the game, for example. He wants to do it on his own and his own speed and don't need to wait that. For example, if I want to go raiding in World of Warcraft, there's no option that I can do it solo. Only if I go like few add-ons like back, then I can do it in my own. But at the moment, the current add-on, it's not possible to raid on my own. So I need to find a group, I need to get aligned with that and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, like you said, the single player games is nice because, for example, you can play it during the flight. You can do it if you want to come down. So I think it depends on the moment and what kind of type you are as a person. And then it's maybe better if you play multiplayer games or the single player games.
Yeah, definitely. And I was for example speaking about the story, and that is also my next question. Are multiplayer games lacking in story because they are too much focused on grind and money making?
Let me think. Mm, if I think, for example, the story mode in Battlefield Bad Company 2 or Call of Duty, where you play the campaign always.
But that is also a single player game, so these are different things.
Yes. But you asked like what's like the if they're single player or like don't have any good storytelling, right?
The multiplayer.
Like
Why are the multiplayer
Adam
games lacking of story?
multiplayer, all right. No, I don't think that. Like if you think about World of Warcraft, the story is big and huge. It is one of the best stories I ever played, and you like know the background of the characters of the like Sylvanas and all these kind of um, characters in the game. So I would say no. It depends on the game, of course. There are maybe some games that are like lacking and don't have a good story. But for example, World of Warcraft is the best example. The story is like if you're a new player going into the World of Warcraft, well, you have to get like know a lot of stuff before like knowing what actually happening in the game because there's so much on going on. So, no, I would say no.
So, for example, when if you start as a new player in World of Warcraft and you get are getting thrown into the game, do you think he will understand the story till he's level 80?
No, no chance.
Right.
I I asked myself actually like I think few weeks this question if I would like if someone asking me, hey, I want to play World of Warcraft, what would you recommend to do? And then I thought like the best thing what you have should do is like beginning from the first story and ignore like level 80 and everything and just make the quest line through everything that you get like from one point to the next point so that you understand like the story because the story is actually the best thing about World of Warcraft. So you get emotional, you see the characters dying and all this kind of stuff. So that's the best thing. And if you're a new player and dive into World of Warcraft, you will miss that.
The controversial thing about the World of Warcraft story is actually that if you go from the beginning and you level through and you want to make the story, you cannot do it through it because you if you want to do it chronologically, right? Then you have to go
Yeah,
through the first world, through the classic world, and the world is
yeah,
also different because I don't know, everything changed.
happen.
Then you have to
Yeah,
go to Chromie, start at the beginning with the next expansion, with the Burning Crusade, for example. Then you go to the Burning Crusade world, and then you go to Chromie back, and then you go to the Lich King world because everything, almost every expansion, um, changed the real world a little bit. So it
yeah,
is it is
correct. Yeah.
it is such a pain in the ass to play the real story through World of Warcraft. So I think it's actually not possible, and that is the big difference between single player games and multiplayer games because the multiplayer games are always restricted on the progress of the player because in multiplayer games usually the player can go through his own progression, can do whatever he wants, right? and that is
Yeah.
quite difficult to create a great story. And in single player games, you go through all the tasks, and they can guide you through the whole story. So you can easily tell a story in single player games instead of multiplayer games. That's the big difference for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. So my next question, do you think the lines between single player and multiplayer games are blurring? Means, for example, games like Destiny or GTA 5 offer both experience, and do we see like a hybrid model emerge in the future?
Yeah, I think there are already hybrid models when it comes to single player and multiplayer. When you think about, for example, when I think about all the games which includes co-op, for example, when I think about, I don't know if you heard about it, Monster Hunter. When you play Monster Hunter, you can also, it's a complete single player game, right? But you can also
Hmm.
um, join co-op groups and do some dungeons and stuff like that in a co-op mode. Or when you go into Elden Ring, Elden Ring is a complete single player game, but they also introduced the co-op mode where you can play co-op with another person and play it through. So I think this merge is already happening, and a lot of game. I think there aren't a lot of games left, really good games left, which haven't anything which you can team up with other players. So I think we are already in this time. What do you think?
Yeah, like we had this discussion already with our own game, Varix Rival. They are like almost zero games outside where you can actually play offline without internet connection. So there are not many because everything is connected to the internet, and actually you need this connection, and everything is connected with other players as well. And I think the most of the games have actually like a co-op, a multiplayer version, or something else where you have this multiplayer feature. So the future looks like everything is in the direction somehow to have the multiplayer feature as well into the game. But yeah,
Yeah, that is also that is really a big thing because I can think back to the moment where most of the PlayStation games, for example, required a connection to the internet, so you needed PlayStation Plus to play those games, and there was a really a change at some point because before there were mostly all the games, even online games, you could play only offline, but there was a certain point
yeah,
in history where this completely changed. And for example, I played what was it called? The Crew, for example, I think it was called, and for example, as well as Forza online,
yeah,
these car games, completely single player. You can opt in and make online games for sure, but usually completely single player. But you needed a connection to the internet even if you play single player. What was ridiculous. So
yeah,
yeah, it's definitely a lack of those kind of offline games, and even if you're flying in an airplane and you're looking for offline games, great offline games, it's definitely lacking in great offline games where you can take and play in a 5 hour flight or something like that and be bound in it because it's good. It's actually lacking.
yeah, true.
So that comes to the great question of mine and to the great next question: are single player games dying?
Well, if we look to the last question, I think yes. Maybe there are like few option where you have like the option to play a little bit as a single player, but you will of course always have this multiplayer feature. So I think the direction will be going more to multiplayer. Also, if you think about metaverse and or meta world, yeah. So I think the direction will go into a big world where everything's connected and everyone needs a connection, and you always have the option to play with others. And there are like few single player, but I think there are not many. Maybe there are some companies who will maybe go and say, let's focus on that. Could be possible. But at the moment, like you said, everything you want to play like just a driving game, and normally you play it in a single player mode, and you still need a connection even if it's on your hard drive, so it doesn't make any sense. But yeah,
Yeah, that's
I think yeah, they're dying.
yeah, that's actually true. Um, I have a perfect niche down question for that. Is the future of gaming all multiplayer or are all single player? And are all single player games just a nostalgic hobby? So I think I would answer first. I think
Yeah,
also Twitch and everything, online streaming games and stuff like that. This all these kind of things encourage multiplayer games more and more as well. You have sometimes these niche games like Elden Ring or Ghost of Tsushima or Sekiro or something like that, which are popping up for 1-2 months or something like that, and then everyone is going back to all these kinds of multiplayer games. And the gaming community at the moment is completely driven by streamers, because let's think about the big Asmongold effect. If Asmongold goes all in a game, he brings with him a really big following, a really big player base, and the game is popping off like crazy. So I
yeah.
think with all these factors in mind, I think it will in the future be really a thing. Like, you only play single player games. This will be a niche. This will be like a hobby, yeah. And the main focus of gaming will probably be multiplayer games because it's pushed the most. What do you think?
I think like if you watch like what the big games in the last time, like for example, how it's called, Among Us, for example, or this with the chains where you are
Yeah.
connected with your friend and have to, if when someone is falling down, you go with him.
Mm.
So I think these kind of games will develop because these are perfect games for streamers and also for the multiplayer community. And if I think for myself, I think you will have more fun playing a multiplayer game in the future as a single player because there is more things going on. If I think like my best gaming moment, it would not be possible in a single player. In single player, it would be AI, and then it would not be like this kind of feeling if you play against other players. So um, yeah, I think I think it will be more likely like a niche and few people's. And I think it will be also like if you think about Asmon also, you go in, you play this game through, and it takes you about, I don't know, 50 hours maybe or something like that. And then the game is finished and you go on. So it's just like I go into it, I have a nice time, and then I move on to my real games where I build my characters over time and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, where you also have the whole progression thing. Yeah, where
Yeah,
where you, I think also it is because when you play online games, in this case multiplayer games, your time feels not that lost, right? Because you're doing something, you're progressing something, and you're swapping your time into prestige or into something else in the game. And when you're doing that in single player, in a single player game, when you're investing your time in the single player game, it's only your experience, but nothing to show, you know? So
Yeah.
that is probably one big thing as well, that it feels like for the human mind that it feels way more satisfying and way like a way better investment to play multiplayer games instead of single player games. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you think like there are like people playing World of Warcraft for like, I don't know,
20 years.
20 years. Yeah, 20 years. So, and they have one character there. This character is 20 years old. So just keep in mind like how much time he spent into this characters, how many achievements and all this kind of stuff. And also what kind of experience he had with other peoples and make friendships and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, there's a reason why World of Warcraft is always somehow reminded as the best game of the world. But yeah,
At least in the first period. Yeah.
yeah, maybe now not, but maybe they are getting back. Let's see.
They have to catch up a lot. But yeah, go on with
Yeah.
your next question.
Okay. I think my next question will be more in a personal direction. So, what do you enjoy? Like, what kind of player you think you are? Are you more into the single player or more into multiplayer? Or would you say like, yeah, I'm a little bit of both and it depends on my mood?
For me, it is actually like I mentioned before, the point that I mentioned the last actually, because my mind is driven in a more self-grown and good investment mind and stuff like that. So I'm looking that to invest my time in a careful and in a effective way. So the most time when I play a single player game, I feel a little bit it's a little bit a dead investment, you know. I enjoy the story when there is a really good game, but mostly I don't get all the satisfaction out of this game in case of the future and in case of satisfying my mind that my time is really good invested. So that's why my main game for most of the time is World of Warcraft. Over the last, I don't know, 18 years or something like that, 17 years, uh, because you can actually see the progression. You can show something, and the time is not that wasted than when you play a single player game. Even it's only subject. It's only my
Yeah,
personal opinion, but that's how my mind
yeah,
works. So yeah, I'm more satisfied when I play multiplayer games. But sometimes I play single player games. I mean, GTA 5, for example, was a single player game as well, and it was a very good single player game, for example, or yeah, some other games. Yeah. What about you?
yeah. I would also call me as a multiplayer game because I need the competitive mode. So I always have to fight against others. So and that's difficult in a single player. So I get this feeling in multiplayer. So yeah, that's why I would call me a multiplayer player for sure. Yeah.
No. What actually when I think about it, what actually satisfies my mind as well is when I play Genshin Impact or Wuthering Waves. It's a single player
Mm-hmm.
game, but you have actually progression in this game, and you have something which is prestige and which you can show through the collection of the characters and stuff like that. So that
Mm-hmm.
is also something which is satisfying my mind in this case, which is a single player game,
Yeah.
which you also could play in co-op mode, but yeah, that's the niche down then. Yeah,
Yeah.
but very good question. Yeah, I have one last question for me. It's, are single player games the healthier option?
Yes and no.
Explain.
So I would say yes. For example, if you play again League of Legends, most of the time it's a toxic game. You can have, of course, also your nice time in this game, but most of the time it's toxic. And if you can then decide, I go and play GTA 5 or something like that for your own and just have a nice time, I think it's healthier for your body and your mind. And instead of like getting flamed and everything like that in League of Legends. And yes, in this kind of case, I would say yes. But I would also say no, because if you're like really introverted and more likely or always playing alone and maybe you're feeling also alone, multiplayer has the option to get new friends, or maybe you have also no friends. Gaming can bring people together, gaming can connect friends and all this kind of stuff. So that's why I would say multiplayer is more healthier than maybe single player if you do it the right way. Yeah, I think there are like crazy stories outside um, with multiplayers that people find their girlfriend, their wife, and whatever. There are like different kind of option what can happen in a multiplayer game. And yeah, so that I would I would go with that.
I actually heard about a story. This is a really crazy story. I actually heard about that story 2 days ago or something like that. I read about that. A very famous streamer wanted to take his life after high school, and then Wrath of the Lich King came out, and that saved his life. That was actually Asmongold.
I saw, I think yesterday someone was reacting to a video of him, and I didn't watch it so far, but okay, then what? Maybe that he talked about that in this video, yeah.
Yeah, I saw. I only saw a text somewhere in the internet about that. I was actually a little bit shocked, but and it's really, even if we're smiling, it's only because it didn't happen, and it suits to his life that World of Warcraft is everything for him, or was everything for him, right? And
Yeah,
um, but yeah, that's actually a very good story as well, and proves your point you did before, that even in the darkest hours, a multiplayer game where you make friends and stuff like that could save your life actually. So it can be very healthy and very powerful as well, because even in these days, it's so hard to connect with people, and even after COVID, like 98% of people cannot speak anymore and cannot go to other people and connect and stuff like that. So it's not possible anymore in the outside world. So yeah, there you can see these games can save a lot of lives. Sure. My approach to this question was a little bit different as well, but there are different outcomes either when you think in this direction or this direction. Because I thought there's no toxicity in the single player games, as you mentioned before. I don't have to mention this point anymore. But also, all the multiplayer games are more money driven, and because of that, more addictive
true.
to all the people. So you don't have the whole addiction when you play single player games, because when you're done with the single player game, and it's a really good single player game, maybe you played once more, but then you're done with the game, and then you have to wait for
Yeah,
another game, right? So if you want a not so addicting gaming experience, then you probably want to go more in the single player direction. But it depends, because I think for myself, all the multiplayer games all the live service games, I mean, which are updated all the time, are developed to be addicting. As it's same with all the junk food. It's with everything. Everything is developed
Yeah.
to be addicting and to be bought more.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Of course, yeah. Multiplayer games are more addicted, of course. And yeah, you can spend your money on multiplayer game for everything. You can buy whatever, mountains, skins, a lot
Mountains,
of stuff.
you can
So
buy
pe
mountains or mounts.
mounts, yeah, mountains. Yeah, maybe there's a game you can even buy
Yeah,
mountains.
yeah, maybe. I mean,
Like it's maybe in Sims or something like that
true. Yeah,
for your background in your house or something like that.
definitely in Minecraft.
Yeah, yeah, Minecraft, yeah. So yeah, but yeah, like for myself, if when I think about like when I started gaming, I think it was with 12 years, I think. And actually, I shouldn't buy it, or even I was not in like how it's called, like I had not the right to buy actually because I was too young.
Oh, yeah.
So so I think you get the point. So there was like option like pay safe card, you go to like and get the money and then you
Yeah.
can buy different kind of stuff and your parents get nothing,
Yeah,
they will not know about
right.
that. Yeah. So and then there are like people's they lost a lot of money because of that, or you know, like there was this option where you can get your phone, you call the number, and then you're getting the money, and then the parents 1 month later are getting like a big amount of bill,
These
and
were the
went crazy.
sexting hotlines, no?
No, no, like I don't know, like hold on, 29. So let me think. Yeah, 70 years ago, you
Mm.
could like, for example, you had the option to do it with a
Yeah,
PaySafe
yeah,
card,
yeah.
or you call the number,
Correct.
and they will bill, make an invoice
Yeah. Or
through the number.
send a SMS or something
So
like that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, something like that. So, and the parents will get in the end the invoice. So that was a crazy time actually.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah,
Yeah, that's.
but it's more addicted and it's more dangerous for yeah for your pocket.
I have also a story which was my first pay to win in a game. I think that was actually with 12 as well, around 12. I don't know if you remember the game Combat Arms. That was actually
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
first massive online shooter we played. Combat Arms. That was really popular in this time when we grew up, and really one of the
actually,
first. Yeah,
I didn't play it, but you
you
and
didn't
your
play it. Yeah.
classmate was really crazy about that.
Yeah, because it was the internet came out and the whole online games came out, and then this game popped up, this shooter popped up, and this was yeah, a shooter, a normal shooter. You can imagine it like Call of Duty or something like that, or CS:GO more.
No,
And
no,
there you could also buy weapons, and for sure we were not allowed to buy weapons because we were only 12 years old, right? And then we went to
yeah,
the ATM because we had a kids account at a bank, and we went to the ATM, and then we transferred from the ATM to our phone the money. You could do it with charge
yeah,
your phone with via a bank
yeah,
account or something like that. That worked,
yeah,
and then we sent the SMS to this Combat Arms, to this shooter game, and then we had the balance on the game in the game, and then we could
yeah,
buy the powerful weapons and destroy everyone with
yeah,
the powerful weapons. That was actually
yeah,
quite funny, and this was how it worked. Uh, I don't know
yeah,
how many years, 17 years ago, something like that. This was how it worked. You had to be creative to get around things. I
yeah.
mean, these times the games they ask you, "Are you 18?" and you click yes, and that's it.
Yes,
Right?
true.
So
Yeah,
yeah, it was a completely different time, but it was a very cool time, definitely. Yeah. So that
yeah,
was a little bit nostalgic for
Yeah, parents, be aware your kids are pretty smart, and if they want something, they will do it.
yeah, it's definitely possible. And usually you have to outsmart your kid, but when you're not going with the whole digital thing, then they're easily smarter. Yeah.
I have an outside question. Would you say you was as a kid smarter than your parents because of that topic?
In case of digital things,
Yeah, buying stuff and they didn't know, but if they would know, you would have a problem.
I mean, probably if they would know, I wouldn't have a problem because my parents would have allowed me, but I wouldn't. I would prepare or I would prevent the whole discussion and stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
So I do it for myself. They don't know about it, and they don't know I play a shooter where I kill people, stuff like that, because it's only a discussion, and I'm only 12 years old.
yeah,
So that's. But my parents were very very chill.
yeah,
They gave me the freedom, and I appreciated the freedom, and I knew what to do with it to not annoy them. So it was okay.
yeah.
But for yourself, it was probably almost the same, right?
Almost the same, but I had the time like where I outsmarted my mother.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm.
because like for example, there was a time because I think I had my I wasn't good in school, and then it was like, okay, you cannot play any games for I don't know 6 months or something like that. And my mother told me that often, but it never worked. So when they are sleeping, I went down and I played in the night. And then sometimes I hear them coming down, and then I turned everything off and I went behind the doors, or I like my computer was in my room, so I went like, oh, I'm sleeping, but actually I'm awake, and then I wait until she's gone, and then I go back again and play. So yeah, so that was a nice time to remember.
Yeah, that is definitely outsmarting the parents. Then I
Yeah,
can only remember I only did this with my Game Boy or with my handheld. When you play
yeah,
Pokemon or something like that in the evening, a new
yeah,
Pokemon came out, and then your parents are
yeah.
checking for you. You take the Game Boy under the pillow or something like that.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then it's fine. But yeah, but it's more when you realize it. For even only for myself, maybe not for yourself, but when I think back, it wouldn't be a big issue actually, because the issue was way bigger in my mind than it was if they catch me playing a game. They probably said, "Oh, you're still playing. Okay, then look that you're going to sleep soon because you have school tomorrow," or something like that. So, and in my mind it was, "Oh shit, something wild will happen."
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I had actually a time really where I have to cheat.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
but it worked. So yeah,
Yeah, that's the proof how smart people are. Sometimes people
yeah,
have to be creative. A lot of
yeah.
people can't go around these things. So yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Do you have another question for the topic?
I had one in my mind.
But not anymore.
I lost
Then
it,
then you
yes.
probably can write the question into the comments when you find it again.
Yeah.
Like
All right.
the people listening, if you have any questions to this topic or another topic you can recommend us for the podcast in the future, please write that in the comments. And if you're listening still to this point, leave us a subscription and a like on this video. And for all these people which are still single player gamers and looking for other people, teammates, or something like that to play together and have a very, very good time in gaming, we have something for you. And Stefan is explaining that.
Yeah, guys. Thank you for still being here. So we have something special, and if you want to know more about it, there are like many videos about that on our YouTube channel as well. But the main thing, we have like a gamer teammate dating app where you can find like-minded people for the gaming world. So if you want to play with someone else, the best option outside there, and you can trust me. I just finished my video top 10 gamer dating apps, and I watched into all the application, really big into it. The only best dating app outside, especially for gamers, is Gamers Playground for sure. So give it a try, look into it, and I think you will like it.
Big words. Keep
Big words.
keep in mind the app is still fresh. There could be a couple bugs. If you find some bugs in the application, please report it to us. We opened a guild called Feedback, and please write it into the guild chat there. Then we can fix that stuff because it's still our first application. Don't expect too much high end shit. So yeah, tell us what you think, and thank you for listening again. We see each other in the next podcast. And as always, the last words are yours.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to us. And I wish you have a great week and the best loot in all your games. And see you in the next podcast series. Bye bye.
See you.